You know, the truth of the matter is, if you only get one club right in your bag in 2025, then it's got to be this one. It is, after all, the most important club in your bag. So, I've come out on the fairways, onto the greens at Holywell Golf Club at long last. We've been struggling in the last few weeks in the UK in terms of weather. That's the first good news. The second good news is I'm featuring a product that you've not seen yet on the channel and not seen very much on any channel right now. And we've got a head-to-head in two clubs that, like I said, are very much overlooked. And one of these two, or certainly this type of product, should be in your golf bag. I have 100% confidence in that statement. And that club in question is a putter. The most used club within most of our bag setups and the most ignored. Why does that always happen when I press record? I need to take this round with me on a medal round and I would hole more putts. This is something that is brand new. Not out to buy just yet, but something that you will find as interesting as I have done. And before you switch off and think I don't want to see another putter video, well, this one you do, because it is a head-to-head between what is the brand new LAB Oz putter, which in itself has got some very unique features that we've not seen from LAB before. That in itself is interesting enough. But I'm going to put it in a head-to-head against one of Callaway Square to Square putters. Big differential in the price. Why are we paying so much more for the LAB? Can I recognise those benefits, and is it worth your investment, or can you indeed save yourself a whole lot of money and go with the Callaway Square to Square option? Well, let's start the conversation with a little natter about the putter that I have in hand. It is the Oz from LAB. It's different because it's got a new face insert that is more like what we are familiar with, if you like. It's supposed to be a little bit softer. Oh my word, that one just snuck away. Maybe a little bit faster off the face than the original that we've seen in the MES, the DF versions and such like. This model still has the forward press. I've already done my sort of assessment of this particular model on its own, and whilst I see plenty of things I like about it, there are also elements that you should be fully aware of, because this is a very different LAB putter than what we've seen in that MES and DF3. So what about the Square to Square? What makes them so special, and why is it in a head-to-head with the LAB? Now, the putter I'm going to feature from Odyssey is the Square to Square AI1 Jailbird. Very popular model. It's a mallet style putter, centre shafted, and it has the same zero torque technology that would be featured in the LAB. And that zero torque is supposed to help us with keeping the putter head, face, square through impact, and resulting in more putts hold. We took a little bit of a bobble there. It is, of course, winter in the UK, and we're just coming off what is a couple of weeks of snow. But this is very different, straight away from one to the other. We've got a white hot insert, which is already very different, sounds and feels very different, comes off the face different, a little bit slower in fact from that compared to that aluminium face that's in the LAB equivalent. But that's the face insert. What else is it that separates these two putters, and why should one of them at least be on your agenda to at least consider in 2025 putting in your bag? Now, I feel after recent comments on certain videos, there's been a lot of product videos launched of late, and we're getting a lot of nonsense posted about whether or not you should buy or be persuaded to buy the latest and greatest. Let me make it clear, this video is an evaluation of two products. Whether you're going to purchase them is of no interest to me. So please post comments down below that are pertinent to this video and come with some kind of structure that we can at least have a grown-up conversation, because like I said, in recent weeks it's all got just a little bit silly. So let's talk about the similarities and also the differences. Both are zero torque, both are centre shafted. That's about as far as it goes. After that, they're very, very different. I've already explained about the two different face inserts. So that's going to be about preference, what you like the sound and feel of. The next thing is the shape and profile. Now, I'm looking at the Jailbird model, which has been hugely popular for Callaway in previous models, releases from the Odyssey lineup. This square-to-square version, I imagine the Jailbird will once again be popular, but it's worth noting there are a number of different head types. So Odyssey perhaps offer more traditional styles that you're familiar with. With LAB, we've got the latest version here. This is the Oz. There is, of course, the MES and the DF models. So 3 versions, if you like, to choose from. But that's where, like I say, the similarities end. We've then got a very different situation with the grip. And something that was very apparent in what LAB did differently. And it's a grip that adopts a forward press. You can probably see that on the camera we're looking at now. And in the Odyssey square-to-square, you've got a very much a traditional, almost barrel-like shaped grip, and that again is very, very different. And the only way you'll find out how different they are is by literally grabbing hold of one of each and standing at address, and then you'll learn what is quite unique about the LAB setup. Now, my own personal opinion, I really like the forward press that is adopted by LAB. They've actually offered this time round within the Oz makeup a sort of standard super stroke grip, which takes the forward press away, and I think that takes a little bit of the uniqueness away from what LAB have done and puts it back into the category of the sort of standard offerings that are out there. But it's worth being aware it is very, very different indeed. The other thing to note, and just picking them up side by side, is there is a huge difference in the head weight of these two models, the Odyssey being considerably lighter than that of the LAB. And once again, I would imagine that's going to be very much a personal preference. But you must try both of these if you are ever considering buying one, because then you'll start to understand the differences between the two. So, first part of the test, if you want to call it that, is let's do a little bit of distance control. So, greens are, as we've already said, a little bit fluffy, a little bit slower than what we'd hoped for, but to give us an idea of where we're at in terms of feel. Now again, I've raced that one by, so there clearly is a little bit of fizz out of the face. That's bang on line, and I'm going to switch straight in to the Odyssey equivalent. We'll go into the Jailbird, and I'll go and move that ball. Big noticeable difference is, as I've just mentioned, head weight, especially when you shift from one to the other. This is considerably lighter as a putter, or at least it feels to me, and if it's not, then there is something going on with the balance, but I'll put both of the weights on screen for you now. Now, it is, like I said, noticeably different within the sort of the swing, as this is so much lighter. Again, I'm aiming right lip, so they're probably going online, and I'd sort of be happy with the pace of that. Pull that one a little bit, and much better with the weight. There is no difference in terms of distance control, but be mindful that they are very different in terms of that face insert. The Odyssey white hot face being that much softer than that of the LAB equivalent. Next thing we're going to focus on is a couple of 8-footers, which in theory we should be looking to make rather than more of a lag putt, which the first one was, the distance putt. And then I want to talk to you about the price and the price difference between these two clubs, and what are your opinions on it. So right edge is the line for me, sort of dribbled its way there, a bit more confidence with the strike. Right edge again, yeah, and that one did just drift away. Now I'm not going to pay too much attention to whether or not I hole a putt or not. Like I said, you can see there's a few little anomalies in the green this time of year. So I won't be blaming the greens, I'm not going to blame the putter. It's just more of my thing is whether or not it's going off on line that I'm aiming for. So again, right edge, and just drift in a tad, just stayed on the right edge, so you can see there's a little bit of a bobble going on. Same again, pushed a tad at that right edge. That putt, if anything, was straight, and I overread. So, other thing to point out, because, you know, again, there's maybe a bit of confusion within the space of product review videos right now. As you've clearly seen, you buy yourself a new putter, it doesn't mean you hold putts. There's a misconception that, like I said, investing money improves your game immediately. No, it doesn't. I love zero torque because I like the fact that I can pick a line, I can control the club head better, and I seem to be able to keep it squarer than with other types of putters. So it very much suits my type of swing, and I'm into the idea. And all you can do is aim for the right lip, and if you read it wrong, which I did, then you're still going to miss. You've also got to understand to be able to control the pace. If you do them things wrong, you're still going to miss. So, like all clubs, they ain't magic wands. My next point is price, and what was very interesting about what Callaway did was they introduced this at £249 in the UK. That's a real significant price point. And I think it's a real, they've stolen March big time, and I assume that's to do with the kind of like the manufacturing power that Callaway Odyssey have, and to be able to make this type of putter and bring it to the market at 249 must hurt LAB, I would think. But what LAB are saying is that, and the LAB, let's say the LAB putter is a minimum of £500, I would say. You've got to think of shaft options and all the rest of it, but let's say it's 500 quid, it's twice the price. Having spoken to Sam Hahn, his justification for that price is just the work that goes into making the LAB putter. They're almost bespoke. Any minor alteration that you make, or he makes, or LAB make to the putter, whether that be the length, whether that be the weight within the grip, it all has an impact on the way the zero torque element. So they literally make every product and balance it by hand, so there's very much an individual process, and you're going to get charged a premium for it. What I want to know is, what do you think? Are you $249 on Callaway, or are you willing to invest that £500 plus on a LAB version? But ultimately this video is about investment in a club that plays, well, a hugely significant part in your bag setup, probably the one that gets ignored the most in many ways. We would have a real gripe with paying 500 quid plus for a putter, and rightly so. But a driver would probably set you back the same money, and I feel like there would be more enthusiasm to pay for a driver that kind of money than there would to be invest in a putter. And I'm just wondering, and I'd be really interested to know your thoughts as to how the mindset works, and why a putter is often the club that gets ignored in the bag. The biggest difference between these two putters is the weight. It's hugely different, and whilst I said I'll put the weights on screen and you know what they are now, if they're not hugely different, I'll be very surprised, because in all seriousness, that is so much different. We didn't hold a single putt, and as I said earlier on, it doesn't necessarily mean by investing in either of these models you will hold putts. That's a given. But what I will say is there's far more, feels like a lot more stability in this head, just based on the weight alone, to be quite honest with you. Now, whether or not, again, that's a little bit of, I don't know whether or not that's a placebo effect almost, but this seems so much lighter. It's almost like a little bit sort of flailing a little bit. This sits with such a weight at the end of the shaft, it almost feels like there's a sort of much more of a counterbalance effect going on. And whilst there are things that I'm not overly keen on about the Oz, and that being the insert, I prefer that of the original in the DF and the mezzes. In the construction of the putter, the way it's weighted, I would certainly be leaning more towards that than I would the Odyssey version, but for that reason only. And if we sort of look at the bigger picture, then the DF3 for me is a much better version than both of these two options. So the point of the video is quite simple. Pay attention to the putter in your bag. Make sure it's working for you. It's a valuable piece of kit that we ignore. It's the one bit that you should perhaps get right in 2025 to see if it can help you lower scores. And if you're going to invest this kind of money, as ever, go and get custom fit. Doesn't matter what I say, doesn't matter what, say, Rick Shields says, or whoever it is that decides to review a product. The only thing that matters is you've got to try it for yourself and then make your own judgment before you make that investment. Right. I cannot believe that a week ago we was in -2, -3, -4, and today it is 12 degrees and I'm actually too hot right now. Incredible. Anyway, Holywell Golf Club, get yourself on up here because it is bone dry, and get yourself around a golf if you live nearby. If not, well, I'll see you soon on YouTube, and as ever, thank you for watching. Sensible comments down below, and let's get a conversation going. See you soon.